So, do you think Trump's tariffs killed globalization? Well, every bottle of Portuguese wine that may soon land on Canadian shelves tells a different story. We'll look into that because these duties aren't the end. These tariffs, they're just a reset button. A huge reset. Supply chains are rewiring, new EU deals are popping up, new trade agreements. There's plenty of opportunity, including for researchers and innovators. That's why this is an issue for this podcast. So stick around. In the next minutes, we'll map the data. The funding calls, the research and innovation plays, everything you can do, and we'll focus into that in all of the month of May. So we have an interview with Annetta Benzar from Cyprus on what makes EU projects so special. It's a great talk about Erasmus, Rising, and how this change people's life, how EU-funded projects can change people's lives, not just the target groups, but also the executors of the projects, the implementers. We'll look into an open call. We'll have a deep dive into a fresh European Defence Fund call for SMEs and how your project can score up to 4 million in funding. And this leads me to a couple of other issues. We have some offers. We have the dual-use repositioning canvas. I should have made an easier name. Well, I made a canvas to help you see the best way to reposition your products, your ideas, your research as dual use. If you do that, you can really apply to these new calls on the defense programs. And this is available for you. Just check the podcast notes. You just need to subscribe to the podcast, the newsletter. It's you can make a free subscription and get access to that canvas. It's easy to use and it may help you really reposition yourself. Another offer this month is a free trial of the GPT SmartProposal AI. I talked about that GPT in earlier episodes. It's a tool to help you have an assessment of your draft proposal before it's submitted, using the same criteria as the evaluators are going to use, using the same guidelines that the evaluators get, and using the experience of past proposals and evaluation reports. So this will help you have an idea of where you stand and how you, more important, obviously, how can you really improve your proposal, not just in its contents, but how it is structured, how it explains, how it tells the story. Okay, so this is the podcast. I'm recording this introduction 2 days after the blackout that left the Iberian Peninsula completely in the dark. I was going to record this on Monday, but at 11:43, power off, no power. Very soon after that, no cell phone service, no internet. So what do we do? A lot of people went to the shops to buy battery-operated radios, so they could stay connected. We need to stay connected nowadays. It wasn't that long ago that there was no internet, so no easy connection, but now we need it. I did a different experience. I actually read the paper book. Yeah. And I liked it. So, okay, paper books are expensive and are cumbersome to handle, but they're so special. They're so different. I think we're lucky to have both kinds of books, digital and physical. They have different advantages, and it was really a good experience. By the end of the day, I was charging my phone in the car, listening to the radio, and that's when the power was gradually reconnected. So substations were being connected one after the other, and the radio was telling that story. And that suddenly gave me a small glimpse of what it must feel to live in a country where multi-million-dollar missiles are being shot at these power facilities. The guys shooting are really trying to hurt civilians, really trying to mess up the civilians' life. There's nothing military about it. So my heart went to all my friends living under fire in Ukraine and other places in the world, mostly Ukraine. And this led me back to the issue of the podcast, the subject of the podcast, innovation and research. The thing is, if Europe doesn't want to risk becoming the next Ukraine and have that kind of problems, it must really invest in the military and defense. But it's not a matter of more heroes. It's not just a matter of more heroes. It's important to outsmart, out-innovate the Russians. Because we are Europe. We don't want to beat them by throwing more cannon fodder into a battle like they do. That's not who we are. That's not what we want to do. We need to develop the next generation of weapons before they do. That's how important innovation and research in this area is. Maybe that will keep us living in peace. Maybe. Let's hope so. So this was my reflection on the blackout. I don't want to reflect about it again, please. But I have a final question for you. Now I'm going to build reserve of food for emergencies. This emergency kit will have a radio, of course. I learned that. Water, yes, of course. What else? What do you have on your emergency kit? Or what would you add to your emergency kit? Use the comments and let's talk about this. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Bye. So, did Trump kill the globalization? We must look into this because it has some important implications for researchers and for innovation in general. So, this tariff shock, and a lot of people is still in shock after these huge tariffs that Trump imposed, were the largest in history, I believe, across the board 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods, and then 10% across the board to everyone, then those tariffs that equal half of the percentage trade deficit with each country. Then China reached 145% or 125. I'm kind of lost in these huge numbers. I don't have memory of similar tariffs. I don't see the science behind it, really. I don't see what's the logic behind it. But these really open new opportunities for research and innovation. So the main narrative here is that there's a supply chain chaos. There's these stories of companies that made orders from China. The ships are mid ocean in the Pacific, and then the tariffs rise, and now the companies who ordered cannot afford to buy it. That's all these kinds of stories around, and there's this talk of this being a reshoring effort or bring jobs home. I don't care. That's not what really matters here. The headlines warn that tariffs throw the global economy into uncertainty, which is true. But let's face it, the global economy is always a little bit uncertain, or a lot uncertain. And this, some say, is the end of globalization. And some people started partying because globalization has its enemies, let's face it. Well, I don't want to mess their party, but it's not true. The reality check is not that globalization is nowhere near the end. On the contrary, in fact, the US represents an important part of the worldwide trade, but only about 14% of all merchandise imports. So the world can trade without the US. The world will trade without the US. There's more to the world than just the US. I don't mean that it's not important. Of course it is. But it's not the end of globalization. Uh, it's not the same globalization, though. Uh, Nevertheless, globalization was already changing. It was in a transition period after the pandemic and the war made clear that most supply chains were very, very efficient in cost, but were not very resilient, safe. So this is just another shock. Okay, this is just another big change to the globalization, these tariffs, and the world is already reacting. Everyone is diversifying their trade away from the states. New trade agreements are being made, and the supply chains are being rerouted, not retracted. So what happens, like in some cases I know better because they are related to my country. What happens is that, okay, for instance, for Portuguese wine, the US tariffs will make the American market not very attractive because it will become very expensive. But there are, everywhere in the world is retaliating with tariffs on American imports. So the American wine is less competitive in other markets like Canada, the best example. So there's an opportunity to fill in their place. So Californian wines will be replaced by other wines. I'm sure Canadians won't stop drinking good wine. So there's an opportunity for the Portuguese red and green wine that's not sold in America anymore to reroute to Canada. And when one door slams in a market, tariffs open a window in another market. That's basically what's going on with the globalization. It's not ending. It's rerouting. And there are also opportunities for change in specialization. So the Portuguese insulin manufacturers have been exporting for a while, but now that the American producers will probably face retaliatory tariffs in the EU markets, there's a new opportunity for Portuguese insulin producers. That's what really goes on in the globalization. So, and you might ask, so what? What does this mean for research and innovation? Well, this redirection, rerouting also happens in research. You saw recently how Canada joined Horizon Europe. So there are new partnerships being built between Canada, the European Union, Korea, Asian members. And these new collaborations will probably replace and go further than the previous collaborations with the American economy. On the other hand, on the American economy, these tariffs will create gaps that will need to be replaced, and there's an opportunity for US researchers and SMEs to license new products, to develop new products, to innovate once again. So how does this affect you when you write proposals? First conclusion: when you write proposals, when you reach the impact, when you're writing the impact section, make sure you prove that using rerouting statistics, that you prove that there's a market pull for your research resulting from these changes in globalization. These evidence-backed resilience stories can really improve your proposals. Just an idea. Okay, this is just an idea, just the start. We'll be looking into these changes all over the month of May, both in the podcast and in the PolisDocs newsletter. Every week, the podcast and the newsletter will break down this Globalization 2.0. And we'll see how this opens new opportunities for research, for innovation, for startups, and for researchers. I hope you enjoyed this. Share, follow, like, subscribe. Everything, every button you see. Just kidding, but really, it's very important for the podcast if you can subscribe, share, and like. See you soon. Bye. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to InnoviU, the EU Fund project, the Chronicles. We are here with Annetta. Thank you for being here, Annetta, and welcome to InnoviU. Thank you for this interview. How is the weather in Cyprus?
Perfect. I mean, it is swimming weather. Everyone is at the beach already. We're working on our tans. So, it's the perfect weather right now to, start the swimming season and start summer holidays, even the summer
Yeah,
holidays.
okay, great to hear. You're based in Nicosia, right?
Yes, I'm based in Nicosia and in Larnaca. So two.
Nicosia. Oh, so I'm not pronouncing it right. Okay.
I mean, it's difficult, especially when you
Uh,
get the word.
okay, so thank you for joining us. Tell me one thing. What do you do for work?
Oh my goodness. Whenever somebody asks me that, I'm always like, oh gosh, where do I start? So, I guess in the most basic terms, I am a writer and a project manager. And then I'm kind of I diversify my skills. So I provide like grant writing, services, and I mostly work with a specific organization, managing projects, writing funding proposals, and also working on their communications and like dissemination activities.
Mhm. So, who are your usual clients, your regular clients?
So the main organization that I work with is called KTG Innovation, and they are a recently established company and that work specifically within sports, especially when it comes to working with those with disabled individuals, and using technology to assist them in their sports endeavors.
Okay. What kind of proposals have you written, and what kind of projects have you done in the past?
Yeah, so I've worked with Erasmus Plus projects and Creative Europe projects. I'm also working in some Horizon projects, specifically in nature-based solutions. So there and mental health. So my background is in English literature. That's what I studied at university. So culture and literature are, very close to my heart. But I'm also a very big sports and mental health advocate. So I feel like those passions of mine kind of are integrated within all the projects that I work in. So technology, mental health, sports, and health in general, and also nature, because who doesn't love being outside in nature, especially on the weekends?
I need to ask you this, even though I know it's very often a difficult question. Of those projects you've done in the past, is there one that is your favorite that somehow left deeper marks?
That is very, very difficult to say. I think the one that right now comes to mind is the one I'm working for one organization in the Horizon Europe, under the Horizon Europe call, and that is using nature-based solutions, so a lot of green activities to improve community mental health. And a lot of that work is working with vulnerable communities, so marginalized communities, especially those, migrants, and those who are in economically not economically disadvantaged, or who live in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods. And
Mhm.
the purpose of the project is to kind of improve the infrastructure of their neighborhood, but it's also to work with the communities to help not just come in and find the solutions ourselves, but to actually co-create this space and work with the people actually living in the space to find solutions to um, build a better future for them and for their children, especially introducing a lot of green spaces within their community. And I feel, as somebody who comes from a migrant background and as somebody who's always found peace in nature, I think that one is very, very close to my heart.
I can see why. Okay. But that leads me to a different question. That you have all this experience with different programs and different projects. And my question is this: can you somehow measure, not really measure, but feel the impact of the projects you've been doing? I mean, very often we do a project, we create the proposal, it's
Mhm.
funded, we do the project, we do the implementation, we work hard to make the reporting, and well, it's done. Okay, it's good. But what was left after the project? Do you have that feeling that your projects do have some impact?
Yeah, that is something I think about often. And I think it's just sometimes the little moments. I think with the projects that allow me not just to be more than just like the grant writer or the project manager, sitting behind my laptop and making reports, but the projects that have a lot of networking events where we are actually interact with the communities that we are, building solutions for. And just those conversations, some just make it worthwhile. And I know that especially those at the end, and it talking to people who have been, with the project since the beginning, and I'm talking about the participants of the projects, not so much the team members, but especially the participants of the local neighborhoods. When you interact with them, throughout the years that you are, managing the project or working with the project, I think those are the kind of the relationships that and the conversations and just the little thank yous at the end. Those always remind me that it's worth it. All the hours working, putting all this together. It's just that little thank you at the end that makes it really worthwhile for me.
I think I understand you. I think I see what you mean. Obviously these projects have the desired impact in the target groups, but they
Yeah.
also leave a mark in the people who run the projects. And
Yeah.
I understand what you mean by that. I think the most interesting people I met in the past decades were people I met doing this kind of projects. So it did leave some mark on me as well. So I see your point.
Yeah, so and I know I mentioned that the team member is not so important, but actually now that you mention it, I have met some incredible people and people that I still keep in touch with years and years, through these projects. And yeah, it's sometimes it's just the working together with people who have, this heart for change. It is also something, very impactful and very important.
That's one thing I find a bit strange, or at least not natural, because these projects, they are all based in the theory of change. They are all built to provoke change, to change
Mhm.
something. And change is not a natural thing in the human being. We are always resistant to change. But nevertheless, a lot of people gather around an idea to change something. That's something I find beautiful in these projects. Uh, Let me move on with stop talking about me and ask you a different question, which is this: you obviously know well the system. Uh, if you were allowed to change one thing, only one, what would it be? What would you change if you could in this process of the EU projects of writing proposals, waiting for approval, implementing, reporting, all of that? What would you change?
I think for me, I find the pro the how should I put it? I guess the whole structure of the EU proposal, and then obviously the structure of how the EU Commission kind of conducts and monitors the whole project, very impersonal. And I understand there's a limit to, the capacity, and they're coordinating so many projects at the same time. But I feel that so many incredible ideas are like left on the table because, I mean, to be honest, the writing the proposals is not really due down to talent. It's just down to having developed that skill and knowing how to tick the boxes at the end and work. Sometimes people just start working from templates and they know the system, they know how to play the system, and that's how they know they can get a project funded. Um, but it's such a shame that so many incredible ideas are left on the table because the people coming in are maybe new and don't know the system, don't are not as adept at writing proposals. So I think I would have loved to have more of a personal touch, maybe include something more than just the writing. I've seen a lot of UK actually funding bodies are now implementing more like video introductions to the projects, which makes it more accessible to people whose writing skills are not um, of such a are not to the standard that the EU Commission would like. So yeah, just making it more accessible, more adding a more human element, and helping the people who have incredible ideas for change to be able to actually implement that, by making the process of yeah, proposals a little bit more than just writing. Yeah, I think that would be my approach.
I like your idea of making this more personal, more interpersonal, and less writing templates, and nowadays using AI to write the right, the correct story. But you were talking, and a different idea came to my mind. I was understanding you wrongly, but this idea is also something I think should be corrected, because if you look at the system, the commission has every time they open a call, they have the possibility of funding none of the proposals. So in the low side, they are flexible. That can fund none. But if they have too many good proposals, they cannot go over the budget. So there's no flexibility there, and that will surely leave some good ideas on the table, as you said. And that's something that probably could be corrected because it shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, if some programs, some calls don't use the money, I don't know. I'm just speculating. Let me go back to your activity. What do you see yourself doing in the near future? What kind of projects would you like to do? If
Well,
you
there's
could choose,
I mean, considering I'm in the process of like writing three or four right now, working on a few projects, and there is one that I am very, very happy about. It's one that in relation to literature specifically, and I don't want to go too much into detail, but yeah, we are creating this new technology to potentially make reading and make, connect, publish works of minority writers, connect better to readership across Europe and, connect readers to more to kind of diversify their reading. Yeah, and it's exciting, just it's the kind of project that we know is going to be a little bit disruptive, and we're going to get a lot of maybe pushback from those who are not, especially when it comes to the literature world, who are still a little bit hesitant about the new technologies coming out. But we're hoping that with this project, because we have a very strong ethical team, a very ethical, yeah, team who will make sure that the we will also be providing a lot of knowledge around the technology and transparency. I'm hoping that the literature world will be very open to this project and that it will be something that can continue and yeah, round after round.
if you bring technology to the world of literature, I think it's right. It's ready for that. It needs to better use technology. I'm intrigued. I mean, I mean, I'm intrigued with your idea, but I think it will. I hope it will. How do you say that? It will be successful. Okay, so let me ask you, is there any final message you want to end with?
Final message. I think when it comes to EU proposals, I think that I know for a lot of people this has become like more very business orientated. I mean, they've built their whole business structure on creating quantity of a large quantity of proposals, and whatever they may be, it doesn't really matter, somehow fit them in, and then this is how we're going to run our business. And especially now when we have all this technology, especially chat GPT and etc, and all the other kind of generative AI tools at our disposal, it seems that it's so easy to just produce a proposal and kind of send it off. And I would hope that in the future that there is less of this, that the proposals that do go forward are those that come from, consortiums that are actually have the tools to create change, and the solutions that they are proposing are of quality and are actually meeting the needs of our society, and especially the um the communities and the pockets of people that are in the greatest need. And I think so maybe what I'm saying is a little bit controversial, but I would hope that actually we would slow down the pace of all this pushing forward with as many proposals as possible, and actually, maybe minimize the proposals if needed, but be just more specific and choosy about those who do get the funding, and put quality over quantity.
I think I understand your point. I want to thank you very much for this time here. Let me say that it's very clear when I'm interviewing someone from Southern Europe, because when I interview any of our friends from Northern Europe, we only see the face, we don't see the hands. While we in Southern Europe, we always use.
Their hands. Yeah, I can't. Now that you've noticed it, I'm like, they're
Yeah.
everywhere.
I understand you, but it's really interesting to see the clear difference between Southern and Northern Europe. There are other differences, of course, and that's what makes, in my view, that's what makes Europe rich. So thank you very much for this interview. Thank you for that final thought of yours. I think it's worth discussing, very much worth thinking about it. And well, I hope to see you soon. And thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Are you an SME or research organization with a groundbreaking idea for European defense? Introducing EDF 2025 LSRA SME ERONT, your gateway to defense R&D funding. With a 34 million budget and up to 4 million per project, the possibilities are endless. Open to any tech innovation with defense potential, from AI to cyber tools. Apply by October 16, 2025, and lead the charge in transforming defense. Visit the EU Funding and Tenders portal for full details and start your journey today.
InnovEU, the EU Project Chronicles, is a weekly video podcast. Please subscribe the Polixdocs newsletter to receive every podcast episode. And if you like receiving it, please press like in whatever platform you are watching or listening. Also, please share InnovEU and Polixdocs with anyone you feel will enjoy it. Credits: author and host Fernando C. Gaspar, music Hugo Gaspar, Lisbon, Portugal, 2024. Reach us by email or DM.